SpaceX just launched Starship for the third time, and we got to see a glimpse of what it will be capable of. It finally reached orbit, and thanks to Starlink we saw some images of the re-entry that we didn't know were possible before. But this is not enough, not for a rocket that is supposed to revolutionize the space industry, that should send people to Mars, and that dreams to make us a multiplanetary species. Despite all the things that Elon says, and all the hurry that he has, Mars is far, far away, at least for us humans to go there. This rocket and this company will first change the way we live here on Earth. They have already done it using Starlink and connecting people to the internet all around the world, but this is just the beginning. This new vehicle and all the capabilities that it will unlock will change the way you and I live, in the same way that the Wright brothers changed our future 120 years ago with the first airplane. We will be able to build the most spectacular things in space, and our grandchildren will ask us about the times where space was only available for governments and for the wealthy people, and wondering how we could live like this. This vehicle is the beginning of a new revolution that will allow us to dream big again. There have been a lot of things said about SpaceX and the role that they will have in our future. Elon has been preaching for years about the importance to go to Mars and to build a self-sustainable city there. But this won't happen for now, and it will be a long time until we start sending people to the red planet. SpaceX already revolutionized the space industry during the last decade with the Falcon 9, which has reduced a lot the cost to send things to orbit and has allowed many companies to start new projects that were not feasible before. Starlink is just one example, but many others have been sending small satellites for a price that was unthinkable just a few years back. But this is nothing compared to the capabilities that we will have during the next years. With a fully reusable rocket like Starship, we are going to start building big computer centers in space, cheap telescopes that will make Hubble look like an old machine, and gigantic space stations full of people that will see Earth like just a handful of privileged astronauts have seen until now. In the same way that you and I cannot afford a plane, even the smallest one, but we can afford a passage on a 747, Starship will expand the capabilities of space travel to anyone that wants it, without having to sell our kidneys to pay for it. The Falcon 9 started the space cost revolution, making it possible for all companies to send compact and expensive satellites to space. But Starship will allow everyone to send big and cheap things which all of us will be able to enjoy. The space industry right now is like a construction industry where you can only send the most expensive and light materials to build, because it costs a fortune to send anything heavy. Most of the cost of a satellite or a space telescope are because you need to use the lightest materials to build them, and you need to invent new building techniques for these materials and test everything 100 times, because if something goes wrong, you won't be able to fix it once it is already in space. The James Webb Space Telescope ended up costing $10 billion, and most of its costs are because of the limitations we have now. It had to weigh less than 6 tons, that's nothing for the size of it, and it had to be folded into some kind of origami in order to make it fit inside the current rockets that we have. We spent 20 years building and testing it, because you need to do everything from scratch, as everything is new, and you have to test every part of it many times to ensure that it will work as expected once in space. If we could only use more conventional materials and construction techniques, if we could only send another one if it fails or fix it in orbit, it would make things way easier and way cheaper. Instead of having one of those telescopes every 20 years as we have now, we would be sending one of them every month. Are all the spaceships you see in science fiction small, made of aluminium and as light as a feather? No! They are enormous steel monsters that have room to spare, and that the expensive parts are the technology they have, not the materials they are made of. In matters of space, we are still in the time of wooden and wind-propelled ships. Yes, the sailors of the past millennium were able to travel the entire world with them, but only a few people could, and most of them died during these expeditions. Now, we are sending in one day more things across the world than we sent 100 years ago in a full year. We can all travel the whole world for just a few $1,000s in a matter of days, not months. That type of change is what is going to bring this new space revolution, this new era of reusable rockets. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Barda is a company that has already started to use the microgravity of space to their advantage. For now, they are focusing on the pharma industry, developing new drugs that can only be done in space, and this will make your life better, new medicines that have better results, and new science that still needs to be discovered. If they manage to build drugs in space with just a 90 kilos and 1 meter spacecraft, what will they be able to do when they have access to more than 100 tons and 1,000 cubic meters of volume for a similar price? How many new projects that were not possible before will be feasible once the scale of Starship is real? The Falcon 9 already made profitable some business models that were impossible before. The giant satellite constellations like Starlink are now a reality because of this rocket. More than 2 million users have a fast connection to the internet thanks to that, and the Falcon 9 is just a little toy next to his big sister. It's not only that Starship will have 10 times more mass and volume capability, it's that it will be launching on a daily basis and for even less cost. We haven't had this type of paradigm change since the invention of the combustion engine. All the new AI developments that are happening, the new Nvidia chips and their huge data centers, all the computational power that will be needed to power all these new software developments will need a lot of efficiency and capability to scale. And what better place than low Earth orbit? When you can have minus 150 degrees Celsius in the shadow, you can use unlimited solar power and you don't need to worry about the waste heat. At this rate of development, cloud computing will finally be a real cloud. A huge swarm of servers in orbit that will do all the heavy lift training and send the results back to Earth, like Tom Muller says.
The amount of power to run compute by like 2045 will be like the base power of the planet right now. The drain on resources is so high, you need to put that compute in space and just use the power of the sun in space, making the solar cells in space, and do compute in space and just beam the results down. Yeah. So I think that's like a really good use of space to help save the planet.
And who knows? Once this becomes normal, maybe the first employee of SpaceX can finally fulfill his dream.
My bucket list item would be to ride an electric dirt bike on the moon. Like jump some craters, you know.
But what else will this new paradigm bring? How is SpaceX going to change our future even more? We've seen how lowering the cost to orbit will bring unprecedented developments, as we won't need to use rare and expensive materials to build there, and a lot of applications that now seem impossible will be achievable. But there is one application that has already started and it's already feasible with the current technologies. They already have clients, and the next generation vehicles will make it available to everyone, not just a few privileged ones. Axiom Space is already sending people to the ISS using the SpaceX rockets and capsules, and they are building a new private space station that will be operational in the following years. But this space station is still an old school one, modular and sent to orbit with small rockets. The next generation stations will be way different, as they will benefit from the capabilities of Starship. Just to put things into perspective, the ISS costed more than $150 billion and took more than 40 launches just to build it, and it has the same pressurized volume as a single Starship will have. The biggest and most expensive project that humanity has ever built could be replaced by a single launch on a rocket that could cost as little as a few million. And not only that, the NASA budget is about $25 billion per year, which is a lot, but not that much if you compare it with the budgets that big corporations spend on research and development. SpaceX is on track to have more than $10 billion of revenue this year, and with the scalability and profitability of Starlink, they will surpass the 25 billion mark during this decade. Think about it, a company dedicated to the exploration of space that is more efficient than the old NASA contractors with more money than NASA. What things will they be able to do? Most of the current space capabilities are designed and ruled by the government or their friends at some old companies, and they are as inefficient as they can be. What will we have when these capabilities are done by people that cannot waste their money and that have a lot to win if they deliver? The SLS rocket that is supposed to send people back to the moon costs about $2 billion each launch, 20 times more than an expendable Starship. It costs more money to adapt just one of the 4 main engines that the SLS has than to build a full Starship with 39 engines in total. Once space is managed by a group of competing entities that really care about exploration and efficiency, we will start seeing true progress and not the expensive and absurd proposals that we currently have. That will be the true space revolution. Everything we've had for the past 6 decades was amazing, but it was not efficient nor cheap. And at the end, it has become the same as all government programs, a waste of money with the excuse that they are doing great things and with the threat that any alternatives will be worse. But this new space industry, led by the best engineers and entrepreneurs of the world, that wants to solve real necessities and that tries to go as fast as possible, is what is going to take us to the next level. A new era of cheap and reliable launches and an immense number of applications that we all will benefit from. It may seem something far, far away, ridiculous, and that will only be for the richest people on the planet. But although at the beginning may be like this, one day we all will benefit from it. One day you and I will be able to go to space if we want, and everyone will benefit from a space industry that will be very different from what it is now, and that, like the internet or planes, will impregnate every layer of the human society and will make us dream of the beautiful and prosperous future that we deserve. As always, take care and learn more.